Hello, I'm Lauren Deiorio, President and Executive Director of the Community Foundation for Ocala, Marion County. And I'm so grateful to be here to discuss this very timely and important topic with our community. We at the Community Foundation are looking to bridge those gaps between for-profit and nonprofit businesses in our community. And just so you know that after this presentation, the slide deck will be available. Details will be on the final slide. So let's jump right in. Let's first share a bit about the Community Foundation and how we play a role in this discussion. Our mission at the Community Foundation for Ocala, Marion County is connecting the charitable interest of the donor to build a stronger community. We do that in 3 ways. By creating a philanthropic community where giving back comes naturally. We work with individuals as young as middle school to help them understand the importance of giving back and how it's possible to connect your passions to your giving. Secondly, we connect leaders to resources that will protect and propel our community. We are a connector. If someone has a need in the community, we can be a part of finding a solution by connecting the right people or organizations to make change. And finally, we capitalize on helping fund causes that improve our community. Whether we're helping an estate planner's client to give to a cause that's near and dear to their heart, or helping a business establish a fund to reach an unmet need, we are always trying to build a stronger community. Just one more visual for you on the Community Foundation's role. We serve 3 pockets or target audiences: nonprofits, givers or donors, and professional estate planning advisors. Nonprofits need donors, and advisors need to know how to connect their clients to the needs being met by the nonprofits. And finally, individuals work with their advisors, but also connect to the nonprofits. We are the facilitator, the connector, and the guide for all 3. So now let's get into what we're here to talk about today, the future of charitable giving, and what that's going to look like in a post-COVID world. Let's start by defining the differences in the for-profit and nonprofit sectors. The for-profit or business sector in our society has a distinct focus on making a profit. Business provides private goods and services and is market-oriented, relying on voluntary payment from customers. Businesses efficiently meet the demands of customers and emphasize customer satisfaction, capitalizing on brand loyalty. While businesses try to stay away from unprofitable endeavors, they often engage in philanthropic activities. The nonprofit sector can provide public goods as well as private goods. The nonprofit sector focuses on client satisfaction, trust, and service for the common good. Nonprofit organizations often are not interested in making a profit, but in breaking even in their endeavors. If extra funds are generated, they are typically reinvested in the mission and the work of the organization. Now, for a brief refresher, let's cover what the nonprofit sectors are. Arts, culture, and humanities, such as the Riley Arts Center pictured in this slide. Education and research. Environment and animals. Health. Human resources or human services. International. Public or societal benefit. And religion. Prior to COVID-19, nonprofits face unique challenges. Many nonprofits have big and important missions, but most are under-resourced. Of the 1.5 million in the United States, 65% have budgets under $500,000. Jacob Harold, who's vice president of CITED, a nonprofit researcher, told Fox Business, "Our research has shown that about 80% of nonprofits have fewer than 3 months of cash in the bank." And in January, David Callahan, another researcher, had already predicted that in the 2020s, that it would be a difficult decade of fundraising for nonprofits. But now, of all the professional fundraising consultants surveyed by the Nonprofit Alliance, more than a third have already advised clients to prepare for the financial impact of the coronavirus pandemic. The same survey reports that more than half of fundraising consultants expect that the recent stock market declines fueled by coronavirus fears will hurt fundraising over the next 3 to 6 months. So what does this mean? Well, according to Harold, if this crisis lasts a whole lot longer, we're sure to lose at least some nonprofit organizations. And projections that have been modeled in Central Florida have shown that by October of 2020, 15% of existing nonprofits will shut their doors. In sum, COVID-19 poses an existential crisis for nonprofits worldwide, but especially in Ocala. The coronavirus has presented hurdles for all businesses and livelihoods. Every sector has been affected, every person touched in some way, and we all struggle to find as much new normal as we can in this time of crisis. For nonprofits, the situation is no different. Some of the biggest challenges posed by the impact of COVID-19 on the nonprofits include reduced or canceled services, furloughs, layoffs, remote workforce, funding stream changes, CARES Act availability, which many medium to large organizations were unable to receive because they have more than 500 employees. And this only provides 2 months of relief when there's no end in sight to the pandemic. Fundraising events that are critical to funding program operations have been canceled, effects on reoccurring donations. Pair all this with a reliance on volunteers, many of whom are in an at-risk age group, and an uncertainty to when things may improve, nonprofits are facing a potential crisis. Charity Navigator and Reuters conducted a study on the impact of the coronavirus and the ensuing economic shutdown on nonprofits. And according to that study, 74.6% of respondents had to cancel a fundraising event, and 83% of respondents said they are suffering financially. The study also reported that 64% of respondents had to cut back on programs, but 50% said they've seen an increase in demand for programs due to the pandemic or economic shutdown. The hardest hit of the nonprofit sectors are the religious and cultural organizations, including associations, human and social services. The arts and culture sectors are in trouble because they can't earn revenue from performances and exhibitions, and that was from Stacy Palmer, editor of the Chronicle of Philanthropy. Even colleges and universities are worried. Are people still going to see them as indispensable institutions? That's a good question. 27% of the respondents said they have had to lay off staff or are planning to because of the pandemic, and the industry employs more than 12 million people alone. That's a large number of those that may be unemployed. As Kara Medoff-Burnett, she's the executive director of the American Ballet Theater, told her staff, and these are dancers, orchestra crew, and all, to survive this crisis, welcome to the development team. It is now in everyone's job descriptions. So recently, Florida Nonprofit Alliance published the report, The Effects of the COVID Virus on Florida Nonprofits. And the data was collected through a joint effort with Florida Nonprofit Alliance and the Florida Philanthropic Network, and supplemented by various similar surveys conducted in the regions of Florida. More than 1,400 nonprofit organizations in Florida participated. And their findings were that 98% of nonprofit organizations that responded have been affected by COVID-19. Almost 80% have experienced a negative financial impact because of the virus. 73% of nonprofits have had a disruption in their services, and more than a third have experienced an increase in demand. More than half have had disruptions to the work of their staff and or volunteers. Organizations are doing the best they can in a rapidly changing world, but they need additional resources, especially funding, to survive and recover. Advocacy continues to play a vital role to ensure nonprofits are included in all stimulus and relief packages. Nonprofit recovery from COVID-19 will not be immediate once the virus is under control, and recovery will require help, especially financial, from funders. According to their survey, the financial impacts that Florida's nonprofit organizations are experiencing are significant. Almost 80% were already experiencing budget implications. Over 70% had canceled programs or events, which reduced revenue. and almost half had experienced loss in revenue from program or membership fees. One of their questions, how has your organization been financially impacted by COVID-19? And these are on the screen. You can see them very clearly. In the longer term, six months to a year from now, the survey expects nonprofits are concerned about loss of income due to cancellations, lost grant funding, and fees for service, reduced future funding, that's 2020 and beyond, reduced ability to provide programming, and an increased need for services. And still others are worrying long-term about laying off staff, rebuilding, and closing their doors. It is clear that COVID-19 and the coronavirus have had a significant impact, if not a negative impact, on our nonprofit organizations in Florida. The research tells us that advocacy is more important than ever to be sure that all government relief and stimulus bills include nonprofits. The impacts of COVID-19 affect both staff and clients of nonprofit organizations. The uncertainty and the constant changes create stress for staff and clients. There are not enough services right now to serve the needs of clients and communities. Nonprofits and private funders / foundations must work together to improve both the short and long-term impacts. Recovery as a sector will be long-term, and some nonprofit organizations will not recover. Funding, especially unrestricted funding, will be vital to short and long-term recovery. In March of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic began shutting down the nation's economy and impacting states and communities, including Ocala, Marion County, Florida. Nonprofits who rely on donors and volunteers for operations started reaching out to the Community Foundation for Ocala, Marion County with immediate needs and concerns, so the Community Foundation created 2 surveys asking for their input. Between March 23rd and April 24th of 2020, 109 nonprofits responded, representing all nonprofit sectors. That includes animals, arts, education, environment, faith-based initiatives, health and human services, housing, and more. With annual budget sizes from anywhere under $250,000 to as large as $25 million. Of those surveyed by the Community Foundation, 100% responded they have been impacted by COVID-19. When asked to estimate the level of severity that the impacts were having or would have, 62% said a significant impact, while only 4% said COVID-19 had little impact on their nonprofit. When asked if nonprofits expected a decrease in revenue, 87% said yes. On average, they anticipated at least a 25% reduction in resources, with losses up to $500,000 for several nonprofits. Those revenue decreases are expected most in the following areas: recurring donations of 57%, special event revenue 56%, fees for client services 29%, investment income of 13%, and no decrease expected for 13%. Upwards of 45% of nonprofits expect an increase in expenses due to COVID-19. Needs for more cleaning supplies and personal protective equipment, PPE, for staff when services go back online, technology and telehealth purchases, increased demand for food for more people in need, and purchasing items that were often donated were included in the list of increased expenses for nonprofits. Our survey data mirrors conclusions we previously mentioned made by the Florida Nonprofit Alliance in their survey of other organizations across the state of Florida. COVID-19's impacts are reverberating across this community, as well as those around the state and nation. In response to this ripple of uncertainty, on March 31st, the leaders of the famous Giving Tuesday initiative announced the launch of Giving Tuesday Now, a global day of giving and unity set to take place on May 5th, 2020, as an emergency response to the unprecedented need caused by COVID-19. For those unfamiliar, Giving Tuesday is traditionally held on the Tuesday following Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Cyber Monday to encourage philanthropic giving to nonprofits as the winter holiday season approaches. Within the 6 weeks of the launch, nonprofits, vendors, and fundraisers had banded together to create matching gift initiatives, special online giving platforms, and numerous tips, tricks, and best practice guides across the internet in an attempt to impart the biggest impact. Since its creation, in the fall, Giving Tuesday donations have raised billions of dollars for nonprofits. The last Giving Tuesday, held December 3rd, 2019, generated $2 billion in giving alone, just in the United States, and inspired millions of people worldwide to volunteer, perform countless acts of kindness, and donate their voices, time, money, and goods. For Giving Tuesday now, some examples of successful fundraisers around the country. More than $1.3 million was raised for 1,336 nonprofits in Colorado. The Community Foundation of Greater Fort Wayne, Indiana, raised over $725,000 for more than 100 nonprofits. And the Communities Foundation of Texas, United Way of Metropolitan Dallas, and the Dallas Cowboys joined together to launch North Texas Giving Tuesday, now which raised almost $21 million. In this campaign alone, almost 95,000 people pledged over 300,000 volunteer hours. PayPal reported raised approximately 65 million globally through its platform for nonprofits, which was 43% more than the previous 7 days of donations, according to Giving Tuesday. And nonprofit vendor Classy.org raised $10.3 million on their platform alone. To date, the global philanthropic response to COVID-19 has surpassed $10 billion, including more than $6 billion in the United States, according to CITED. It's unclear whether that figure, which includes $1.6 billion in in-kind gifts, overlaps with reporting from other sources. The top funders include Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, who has given $1 billion, Google's contributions program, which has given $908 million, ByteDance, which has given $417 million, and MasterCard contributions program, which has given $275 million, and of course the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which has given $261 million. Marion County nonprofits quickly responded to the changes of COVID-19 brought to the community. From rescheduling and canceling programs and services to moving to remote work, their levels of service didn't waver, even if the way they provided services changed. Those who provided essential services have remained partially open, are checking temperatures of every client entering their centers. Those working in offices are cleaning and sanitizing required frequent hand washing of everyone inside. Multiple times per day, they clean every surface staff use. Some are providing drive-up procedures to receive food or supplies, but all are still working to ensure the needs of their clients are met to the best of their abilities. The photo on the left of your screen is of Noel St. Louis, the public director at the Haitian American Community Alliance, distributing masks, gloves, and whatever the people of their community may need to provide safe social distancing. The response to COVID-19 in our community was overwhelming. So those are listed there on the screen, and you can see some of the major responses. We currently have 2 surveys open, which are asking individuals and businesses about their anticipated contributions in the coming year. If you haven't taken our survey, we would like to encourage you to do that, and you can find that on the link that is in the slide. Just make sure that if you're an individual donor, you answer the individual, and then the one for the business is also listed. Here are some of the results so far from those we've surveyed since the survey's been opened. You can see by this chart that 33% of businesses say they are reducing sponsorships of events. Another 21% of individual donors say they anticipate not buying event tickets. For nonprofits who rely heavily on event revenue, it's going to be a challenge now and in the months to come. So we also have some other information that highlights the decreases that are and being anticipated by our donors. But also we wanted to let you know that consumers themselves have opinions about what businesses should be doing to respond to all stages of the pandemic. 66% say they now have a better opinion of businesses and companies overall because of how they have stepped up during the pandemic. 62% believe our country will not make it through this crisis without brands playing a critical role in addressing the challenges we face. And 53% feel purpose-driven companies have fared far better during the coronavirus pandemic. While 40% of respondents think it's a good thing for brands to find a way to stay relevant amid the coronavirus outbreak, a third feel that marketers should only advertise if they've taken direct action to address the situation. 45% believe companies can create COVID-19 solutions faster / better than government. 77% believe that companies must make the decisions that are in the interest of the broader community right now. 75% say they will remember which companies stepped up to provide coronavirus support when this is all over. And 63% expect companies to continue efforts around social and environmental issues even after the pandemic. Prior to COVID-19's arrival, for-profit businesses were already moving their business structures to focus in on the social impact of their decisions and dollars. In Ocala, especially, nonprofit businesses have been heavily supported by Ocala's most generous business leaders through philanthropic giving. Corporate giving campaigns, event sponsorships, in-kind donations, supply drives, and many other charitable actions were already strongholds in many corporate social responsibility policies. The advent of the coronavirus pandemic has accelerated this shift, though, with businesses across the world finding ways to help. Corporate donors are looking to keep their philanthropy more local, working within their community to create partnerships in their own backyards versus connecting with larger or even more generalized organizations. Many companies are shifting as many liquid resources as they can to unrestricted cash donations, which is currently the most needed contribution across the nonprofit sector. Those who opt to give in ways are stepping outside of the box and getting creative, as the coronavirus has caused many of us to do. The brightest light on the horizon for corporate giving to adopt is the empowerment of its employees and customer base to give freely of their abilities and resources as well. Passing funds through employees to give to their passions, matching charitable contributions, and asking customers to round up their bills to donate to charity are just some of the ways the for-profit sector can positively impact the entire nonprofit landscape. And hopefully, these newly implemented policies are just the beginning of a wave of giving. Research from CITED estimates that corporations have accounted for nearly 81% of grant money that has been pledged to the cause so far. It is a great statistic to hear, as we feel these partnerships are what helps elevate a great community to an incredible community. The businesses who stand up and want to tackle the solutions side by side with nonprofits instead of waiting out to see what happens in the pandemic are the ones who will ensure survivability of our community after the crisis subsides. But nonprofits are used to dealing with disasters, smaller budgets, and responding to crises through their missions. Foregoing partnerships now with nonprofits will help for-profit companies find the best response to the coronavirus that matches their mission. One of our main services at the foundation, as referenced previously, is assisting those who want to find the cause to give to that best meets their passions. By connecting with the foundation to distribute funds, create a pipeline for volunteering, or holding an inter-office supply drive, we can help ensure your donations have the greatest impact for both the nonprofit, but also for the donors. Did you know that giving directly to an individual, even from a corporate account, does not qualify for a tax write-off? If those same dollars had been donated to a local nonprofit or redistributed through their channels to the community under the advisement of the foundation, Your gift would be allocated to the place of most need, and you would receive the greatest financial incentives in return. According to CCS Fundraising, who surveyed over 1,100 nonprofits from April 20th to May 1st of 2020, the future of giving is still bleak. You can see that most are anticipating for spiraling donation figures and a certain decline. This accounts for over 75% of their respondents. As you can see, the majority of respondents across all sectors in the nonprofit world expect fundraising decline throughout the rest of 2020. While many large philanthropic givers like the Gates Foundation have 1.2 trillion in private funds, the trend of releasing only 5% of that annually appears to be the rule still through the pandemic rather than the exception. While over 700 foundations have signed a pledge to act with fierce urgency, it is uncertain how and what the recovery in the form of philanthropy will be. But more importantly, when? So what are we sure will change? Nonprofits will be taking their fundraising events and efforts virtually. Until it is safe to gather donors around a table for a formal dinner and auction, there are lots of changes you can expect. Virtual galas, or ungalas, as one nonprofit called it, are gaining traction. These trendy online events were picking up steam prior to coronavirus over the last few years, which was convenient for the budding philanthropists of millennials who enjoy drinking wine and bidding on items from their cell phones while sitting on their couch in their pajamas. Now, many other generation of donors are getting to experience the same phenomenon. Others, ourselves included, have moved regular meetings and programming to other events to virtual platforms such as Zoom. While many things are going virtual, some throwback activities are going to become more popular now thanks to COVID-19. Expect to see a rise in direct mailings from your selected nonprofits and an increase in incoming phone calls. A little old-fashioned for some younger nonprofits, perhaps, but as coronavirus presents virtual stimulus overwhelm and increased isolation, these connections may be most beneficial ways to contact donors. Some nonprofits have gotten creative with their request as well. Prior to the COVID-19 CARES Act stimulus checks hitting the bank accounts several weeks ago, several nonprofits requested from their donors that they pass on part or all of their checks to the nonprofit, and many donors obliged. Others are coming up with giving campaigns that don't ask for much, but are helping to spread the word. Locally, Junior Achievement of Tampa Bay has launched their Do 5, Donate 5, Challenge 5 fundraiser. With a $5,000 goal, they're asking donors to do a virtual 5K in the comfort of their own setting, then donate $5 to the cause and invite 5 more people to participate in the same cycle. These are just a couple of examples of creative fundraising that has popped up since the coronavirus crisis began. What if some of our vital nonprofits went away during COVID-19? Think about that for businesses. How many printers, event planners, accountants, builders, and more industries work with nonprofits every day? Would your business's client load shift dramatically if several of our nonprofits went away? What about your employees who may be using services that nonprofits offer that you may or may not even know about? Nonprofits serve the medical needs of those without health insurance. They provide food to those who are hungry. They assist with domestic violence and abuse-related needs. They provide mental health support. They provide cultural entertainment and a better quality of life. Your employees may be utilizing nonprofit services, and if they went away, how would that impact your workforce? Nonprofits provide essential services not being met by others. In addition to those previously listed, some of our community's greatest needs are met through our nonprofit community. The homeless people and animals that find homes, abused and neglected children find pathways to heal. Our community's landscape, architecture, and environment are restored. So we ask, what would happen to our community if nonprofits went away? Charity Navigator President and CEO Michael Thatcher, he was quoted as saying, "Give generously. Now is the time to stay true to the nonprofits that you have loved and supported over the years. They need your help." The raison d'etre of nonprofit organizations is to help make the world a better place by helping the most vulnerable sectors of the population. These constituencies are also likely to be the hardest hit by the virus. This situation indicates the importance of a healthy nonprofit sector. Many current nonprofit beneficiaries may need greater services, and the number of individuals needing services will likely increase. Sector has always risen to the challenge, and we don't predict that changing. What we need is for others outside the sector to rise with us, hand in hand. Each one of us has potential to do something amazing in our community. In its simplest definition, philanthropy means for the love of humanity. Whether investing in time, talents, or treasures, each of us can be a philanthropist. It's up to you. So what are you willing to do? We all want to ensure that we raise the quality of life for everyone in Marion County. We know there are unmet needs, which may feel overwhelming, but Marion County possesses all the requirements to meet those needs. That's where the Community Foundation can channel Marion County's resources to meet our community's needs by 1, connecting donors to community needs, 2, strengthening nonprofits to respond more effectively, and 3, connecting businesses, tax, and financial advisors to charitable opportunities. We can be your guide, and you can be the hero. We want to hear more from you. What are you doing to help? What do you want to do to help? How can we help you? Please reach out to me at the contact information on your screen. Any member of our team is happy to help you get answers. Any business, for nonprofit, for-profit, anyone in the community, just reach out. And then you'll notice that there's additional information on the screen about the resources that were utilized to prepare this presentation today. If you like this list, please reach out to our Director of Programs, Kelsey Ruff-Smith, for more details. Thank you again for your time.